this is the animation we want to do, the text animation, and the next typer animation. And once that is done, would be doing container animation and text animation together, and at the same time later on we would be doing this animation. As you can see, this three all changes places. Okay, not only we do text animation, we also do this widget or container animation. Okay, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. All right, okay, so now I have this empty file here, which is my home page. Okay, so I'll create a stateful class over here and we'll call it my home page. Okay, and now definitely we need to import some of the stuffs, so let's go ahead and import them quickly. This one. Okay, great. Now instead of returning a container, we'll return a scaffold, so that we'll have body property. Okay, and within body we'll return container, so that it would be able to draw things within the container. Okay, and then we'll have child, and as you can see from here that they're overlapping on each other. Okay, I mean, we are going to use stack position, a stack widget. So within stack widget we'll use a positioned widget, so that we can exactly place them where we want, and at the same time we can do animation. That means we'd be able to play around this top left bottom right values, okay, to move them or to do transition like that. So that's why we need stack animation, because if we have stack animation we can use the positioned widget, right? And position widget gives you the flexibility to move around the position. Okay, all right, so now we can go ahead and run it and everything would be gone. All right, these things are all gone. Okay, all right, now the first thing we want to do, we want to draw a simple container. So let's go ahead and do it. But the container over here should be within positioned widget, so we'll do positioned. Okay, all right, and it takes top property, so we'll say 70. Left property, well, I don't think we might need the left property over here because we'll be dealing with something different, but we'll see. Okay, and then we'll have child, and child will have container, and because we want to have borders, so for our container, so what we'll do, we'll also use decoration. So we'll do box decoration on border radius, and we'll do border radius circular, say 20. Okay, and then we want to use a color, so we do colors dot red accent, this one, and of course you save it, run it, nothing will happen because the container itself doesn't have any height and width. So what we'll do height, say 100 pixel. Now I want to define a width for it globally, so here double width, that's what we'll do, and we'll get the width from media query. Media query dot of context dot size dot width. Okay, so this is the width globally we are getting from the device. Now we can use it over here. Okay, now you do width, say width. Okay, so this one. So now let's save it and run it, and you will see. But definitely we don't want so much space around it, so what we could do, we could create a margin around our container. So okay, so do const edge left, say 20, right 20. Okay, so now it looks much better, but I want to adjust the border. Now it looks better. Okay, so now we are done with this. Now what do we want to do, we want to display a text over here and play around this text. Okay, so over here within container we can use a child, so, and the child would use default text style, this one. Okay, and now of course it takes some of the properties, say for example style and text style. Okay, On text style, say font size 30, and colors dot white. So that's what it would be doing. Okay, now of course it takes a child over here, so we need to apply a child. Say that's Tagir. Well, that's my actual name. If you didn't know, go ahead and run it. Okay, so it's right there. Okay, all right. Now of course the position is a little odd. That's not what we want, but the main thing of this tutorial is that we are going to use animated text, and to do that over here we are going to use a plugin which is called animated text kit. So go ahead and install it and then run pubget, and then it'd be good to go. Okay, all right, so animated text kit. All right, so let's go ahead and do it. So I already installed it, so I don't need to install it anymore. So instead of doing here directly text, what I would do, I would use a widget from this library which is called animated text position, animated text kit, I guess. Yeah, this one. Okay, all right. So of course it takes few properties that we need to fill in. Now as you see, animated text, it takes a list. Okay, like if you come over here, you'd be saying that there is a list here, animated text. So the text you want to animate, you want to put within this one. Okay, so that's what you need to do. Okay, and at the same time you want to do something also special with this thing. So it has some of the properties that you can use. So rotate animated text, so this is the text that you want to move, and in our case this is my name. But now of course this is the first widget that we are going to use, and within it we have list, but within list we have text, and each of the text you should wrap around with different other widgets that this library provides. Okay, so within this we'd be able to move the text. Okay, now what we could do, we could go ahead and see the result. Okay, now it looks like unimplemented. Okay, now I guess we need to restart it. Yes, it worked, as you see. Okay, yeah. Now the problem with this one is that it's repeating itself, right? So we can turn off those properties because we don't want our animation to repeat like this, and it's a bit silly. Okay, so there are some of the properties. If you hover over on it, you'd be able to see. So just go ahead and do that. So repeat over, repeat forever would say false. Okay, so it won't repeat. Now there is a total count, how many times it does animation before it stops. The default is 3, but we'll do 1. Okay, so now let's go ahead and run it. Okay, yeah, only 1, and I guess after that it's gone. All right, now there is another property, I guess, with this one. So let's see. Now this property is called let's see, rotate out true. It means after the animation is done, it just goes away. So we can set it to false. Okay, so that our text is still there. So do rotate out equal false. The default value is true. Okay, so now let's go ahead and run it. Yes. Okay, now this position is weird. We want it to stay in the middle. So what we could do, we can wrap this text widget, this default text widget, within center widget. Okay, and if you just do that, then it would be in the middle. Okay, perfect. So now our text widget and text position and text animation, everything is working thanks to this animated library for it. But of course it just deals with text. All right, okay, so that's one thing. All right, so the next thing we want to do, we want to be able to show like typer animation, that text shows up and it does typing automatically. Okay, to do that we'll also be using this package. Okay, and at the same time we'd still be using this positioned widget. Okay, so we'll create a new positioned widget over here, and within it, just like earlier we did, we'll also have a child. So this child is default text style. Okay, now over here we'll provide some of the properties. Okay, well, first property is a style, so we do text style, and the font size say 30, and font family we would use a different font family, in our case Poppin, and colors dot say this one. All right, yeah. So now of course it takes a child, that's why it's throwing error. So let's go ahead and define a child for this. It's a child. Are we doing it right? No. So it takes child, comma. Okay, well, it takes child, and now in this case our child would be animated text kit. Animated text kit. All right, now just now we saw early it takes a property, which is this one, and it is a list, right? Okay, and within it we'll provide our what is that, the different classes that we want to do, or like different animation we want to do. Okay, so this time we want to do animation using another widget. It's called typer animated text. Okay, so we do typer animated text kit, or animated text, this one. All right, now here we can write the text we want. So what do? We do when you talk you are only repeating. Okay, and now it takes a property that how fast it should finish for each of the word. That's called speed property. I mean, if you hover over on it, you'll see that it is this speed property. Okay, the default one is 40 milliseconds, like as you see, but I think it's too fast, so we'll change the duration. So we do duration dot milliseconds, say 100 milliseconds. All right, so that's what we want to do. Now before we would be able to see this thing, you also need to set the position for this position widget. Okay, so the top position, so now it's 107 to 170, so we do it 200. Okay, because here it's 70 and this is 100, so this is 170, so it would be right here, the top position, and say the left position. Okay, yeah, so we do the left position, so left position, so 20. Okay, now let's go ahead and run it and see. Yeah, so it's working, but I guess we also need a container for this, otherwise it's just going over there, as you can see. All right, yeah, so would wrap this around a container. Okay, it's a container, and within container we can use width. All right, just now we saw early, and we would be say width, the one we have, and at the same time we can use a margin like what we did earlier. So we do margin, say const edge only, left 20, right 20. Okay, and of course I guess we also need a height for this. Okay, all right, say use height. Okay, without a height, let's go ahead and see it, what happens. Okay, yeah, it's working, but now it's this text is being pushed too little over there, because we have this left position 20, because this 20 and 20 together becomes 40. So what we could do, we can do text position just left 0, but then you'll have a margin. Okay, we are applying a margin. All right, so I think it's much better now. Okay, all right, so now this is one of this child in the list. So what we could do, we could go ahead and copy them. Okay, now the same thing like that, it's repeating itself, so that's what we don't want. So we'll use the properties within it, like animated text kit. So total repeat one, so this total repeat one, repeat forever false. Okay, so total repeat count 1 and repeat forever false. Okay, and let's go ahead and run it one more time. Yes, it's working. Okay, now it's much better. Okay, so what done with this section. Now, as we said earlier in the demo, we also have another container widget that pops up and do different kinds of text animation. So this is what we'd be doing right now. Okay, and for that, again, once again, we'd be using our animated this position widget. So what I do, I'll just go ahead and copy this thing. All right, yeah, and the first thing I want to do is change the position to say top 400. Okay, and let's go ahead and run it and see the result. Before we want to see the result, let me change the color of this. So instead of blue, do blue accent. Yes, it showed up there, right? Okay, but now there's this problem. We don't want it to show up immediately. We want it to show up right after this finishes. Okay, so we want to delay as a bit of time, so we can do it easily in Flutter. So we can create a simple method in init state. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and first override our need to call super dot init state, and now within it we want to call a simple function. Okay, because we want to delay something, so we would call feature.delayed, this one. Okay, as you can see, it takes another property which is has to do with duration, as you can see. All right, so all we do, we'll 1000 milliseconds later would do something. Okay, okay, so now after a certain time later we want to do something. Do what? We want to show it. Okay, right, this is what we want to show. So that also means first we have to hide this. Well, to do these things we need to declare a variable. What do we do? We'll call a boolean variable, so show anim, you call false. Okay, and after 5000 milliseconds later it will get triggered, and we'll set it to true. Okay, all right, now we need to use it somewhere. Use it where? We want to use it here, because this is what we want to hide. How do we hide it? We can call show animation or show anim, this one. If it's true, then we'd be using this one. Okay, otherwise, I mean, if it's true, then we would be using this animated text. Otherwise, we will show over here just a container. It doesn't matter what we do, say just a container, empty container, nothing else is there. Okay, so now let's go ahead and check the result. Otherwise, we just show an empty container. It doesn't matter, this container is empty. But of course, if you go ahead and run it after 5 seconds later, you will see nothing is happening over here. Well, by this time it should have showed up, but it didn't. Okay, well, that's because we need to trigger this thing within set state function. Okay, because within set state function, if you have a variable and you change the state of this variable, it triggers a rebuilding of your widgets. Okay, so now let's go ahead and run it one more time, and we'll see that it shows up after 5000 milliseconds later. Yes, it's there. So we're successfully able to delete it. Okay, but of course over here we don't want to show this animation. As I said earlier, we want to show a typer animation over here, or not really typer animation. So we'd show animations that show up, the text show up one by one, like that. Okay, Yeah, so that's what we want to do. So before we go ahead and do it, one thing we could do, we can adjust the height of this thing. Okay, we want a bigger place, say 400. And to be able to quick in our animation, for now I want to change it to just 1000 milliseconds. Okay, yes, well, it's much bigger. I guess it's too much bigger, so we'll do it just 200. Okay, yes, right. Now over here we want to change the animation that where text pops up one by one. Okay, so that kind of animation we want to do. So we don't need this anymore over here. And actually what we could do, we can simply change all of this thing. Okay, we don't need this now. Okay, so over here we just declare a container, and within container we'll have child. Okay, within child we'll have row, because we want a row of text. So this text should be fixed and other text would be changing all the time. Okay, so now over here what we could do, first we could do a text box, sized box over here. Size, I guess we are using this children. Okay, now sized box. Okay, and we'll do width, say 10, and say height, I guess height doesn't really matter though in this case. Let's see, so it'll push a little bit over here. Okay, of course nothing is there, so nothing to push, right? So now let's go ahead and define a text. Okay, so we'll call it stay, and we'll do style, text style. Okay, and we do font size 40, and colors dot white. Okay, so now let's see, so now we have this bit of width here, right? It's 10 over here, I guess, or like that. Okay, so and then we have this text because they are all in a row. Okay, all right, now we want to create another sized box so that we'll have a bit of distance next to it. So let's go ahead and just copy paste this one, and we'll put it right over here. This time we want to change it, okay, a little bit, but of course we don't have anything else to show over here, so nothing is there. Now over here actually we want to draw another widget, so which would call default text style. Okay, and within it we'll use animated text kit, but now let's assign some style to it. Okay, so we'll do text style, this one, say font size 35, and the colors dot white. Okay, now over here this child, we want to change it. We want it to be animated text kit. Now let us add the argument. This is the argument, and we are good to go. Okay, and over here we want to put few text together, so we'll call it say rotate foolish. Okay, all right, now let's go ahead and run it. So that's what we wanted to do. Okay, now the problem is it's always staying at the left side, so we want to put it somewhere in the center. So what we can change a property over here, which is called main axis size, and main exercise dot min. Okay, now within the, if we use this property, it will take the smallest place possible, I guess. Okay, let's see. And at the same time we can wrap it around with the center widget. Now let's see. Yes, so it takes the smallest place possible and as well as put it in the center. Okay, so you need both of them together to work and put it somewhere in the center. Okay, now this was once again we are doing it using animated text kit. So as you can see, in animated text kit you can have a lot of the text together and they would show up one by one. Now we want to turn off other properties, so we would say repeat forever false, and we would do what else, say total count, total repeat count once. Okay, we don't want it to go on forever. Yeah, so let's run it one more time. Okay, so now what do we want? We want, when this animation is finished, it should change, it should go up and it should go down like this. Okay, so that's what we want to do. That's pretty easy to do, but before we go ahead and do it, you have to know that these are all positioned widget, right? So they have this top and the left properties. So now we need to be able to play with these values, the top values. Okay, yeah, and then after a certain time we'll trigger something and they'll swap their position. Now because this is animation, so what do you want to do? You want to make this position widget animated, otherwise you won't be able to work with them, show animation. Okay, so instead of positioned widget we do animated positioned. Let's see. Okay, yeah, so it also takes a duration. Okay, so let's go. Okay, all right, so because we want to swap both of their position, that means we want to play with both of their position, right? So we need to turn both of them to be animated positioned widget, and now we need to supply here duration again, otherwise it will show error. So milliseconds, say 500 milliseconds. Okay, but of course you might expect that once you did it, it will swap the position. No, it wouldn't, because it doesn't know where to go. Now we need to change this position. Okay, or how do you do that? Now the first one, we need to declare variables for this. Okay, all right, so now what do we do? We'll declare variables. We'll call them double, say top one. And for the top one, for now we have 200, so we'll keep it as a 200, and double top two, and I think that is 400. So let's go ahead and take a look quickly. Yeah, 400. So now we'll just swap them with our variables we declared. So it's just a variable we declared, and we are going to replace them, and not hard-coded anymore. Okay, run it and everything should be working fine, but yet it wouldn't trigger any animation. Okay, so now what do we want to do? Once this animation has done, like this animation has done, like at this point, we want to swap the position. So we need to find where it is and trigger animation from there. So we know that this is our third animated widget, which is this one, right? So over here we can trigger an animation. Now if you see this widget, it has a function called on, I guess, on finished. Okay, so we'll use that function. Okay, what we do, we'll call on finished, and within on finished, now here we want to call set state function, and within set state function we will swap the top position. Okay, so top one equal say 400, so it will come down to 400. All right, and the top two to 200, so it will go up to 200. Okay, all right, let's go ahead and run it. Wonderful. As you see that now it's working. Okay, so that's what we wanted to do. Now I guess it has too much it's too close to it, so now, right, so we need to put a margin around this one. So we can actually define a margin for this container, this animated widget, which has a container widget. Okay, so over here we do say top, and we do top 15 pixels. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and run it, and let's see the result. So it's working so far fine. Yes, so now it worked. Okay, all right, so the animation stopped. Okay, all right. So now this is the 3 animations that we have done, and there is another animation that we want to do over here. Okay, that animation, once again, we'll be using positioned widget to do that. Okay, all right, so what do we do? We'll declare another positioned widget. Okay, and within it we'll call container, and the container will give it width, say width whatever the width we have, and then we'll give it height, say 400, and then what we'll do, we'll over here do a border decoration, so box decoration, and border radius dot circular, say 50 40. Okay, now of course you want to use a color over here, so colors dot, so what color we want to use? Orange. Okay, so go ahead with deep orange. Okay, so now let's go ahead and run it. Wow, so it's covering everything, right? That's because we are not defining the position, right? So the top, say 500, say 420, and it's a left 0, right? So now let's go ahead and take care of this thing. But of course we need to put a bit of top padding, because otherwise it's covering our text over here. So what do? Do 50, right? 450, and over here we also assign a constraint as a margin, so we'll do const edge only left 20, right 20. Okay, now let's go ahead and save it and run it. Okay, yeah, now, well, this is going too much to this end, so what we could do, maybe we can do something called, it looks much better, right? Now there's this top, so we want to take care of this top position over here, so let's do it 10. Okay, now it looks much better. Okay, all right, so another thing we want to do, we also want to do animation of this text, this container, and then we'll do the animation of this text widget. Okay, so now to be able to do animation, the same thing again, you need to play around this value, left and right. This time we will not play around with top and left, we do left and right. Okay, so now the left position, say we'll declare in a variable, we'll call it left. Okay, so let's go ahead and declare this variable double left 0. Okay, now we are good over here. So this animations, this shows up as soon as we reload or start our application, right? Yeah, not like those. As you see, it shows up very early and it looks ugly. We want to push it from this screen, otherwise it's covering and it looks ugly. All right, so we can change the default value, so we can put it somewhere in 500. Okay, as you see, now it should be gone. You don't see that anymore, right? So we want to show that container only when this finished. Okay, and when it finished, it goes up, right? So this is the perfect moment where we show this container, right? So let's go ahead and do it. So we are changing this, we are keeping the track of this thing. I think we did it over here. Okay, when on finished, so when this animation finished. Okay, so this finishes, and over here we want to write the value, the new value, so that is left. okay, and the new value, say we want to set it to 0, okay, because currently we just set it 5 and then it's gone, it's way beyond this screen. Okay, now let's save it. Okay, now let's run it, and we run it, and once again it will do the animation, it will go up, but it will see still nothing is happening. That's the reason. Well, now it showed up very quickly, right? It changed the position very quickly, but we want to do a bit of animation. Okay, all right, so to do that we'll transfer it into animated widget. Okay, and then what we do, we do this duration thing. Okay, duration milliseconds, say 500 milliseconds. So let's run it one more time, and we'll see now as it comes up from this side a little later. When it goes up, it would be more smooth animation. Okay, because just now actually we didn't have any animation. Okay, so that was very smooth, right? Perfect. So far everything is working. Okay, so now another thing we want to do, we want to show child within our container, and the text child, because we want to do text animation over here. That's another type of animation we'll do. Okay, so we'll do child, and I already have the code. What I'll do is pretty much the animated text or animated text kit we did earlier. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll directly copy paste. So yeah, it's the same thing actually. So now here we are using typewriter animated text, and we also define the animation type. So this widget is within animated text kit, so you'd be able to access it. Okay, now let's go ahead and run it. Okay, and again, once again, everything is working correctly as we wanted. Okay, now this animation started way early. We don't want to start so early. So what we could do, we could keep track of this guy over here, and once this finishes we start typing. Okay, and that's what we do. So now let's find this guy, Dalai Lama. Command F, Dalai. Okay, this is the guy, and over here, so animated text kit, right? So this is a property once again, which is called unfinished. Okay, so we'll use that property unfinished, and then we'll set state, and over here type equal true, but this is the state variable we want to declare. So let's go ahead and declare it. We'll do bool type false. So what happens once this animation is done, so we'll have a change in our state variable, which is over here. Okay, and then it'll trigger new rendering. Okay, all right, so we want to set this condition over here at this position. Okay, over here. All right, so let's find it. So default text is holding right now this animated text kit, so we'll close it like this. Okay, and then over here we'll see type true. If type true, then we will type things. Okay, the condition is true, then it will render this section. Otherwise we'll just do empty string. Okay, that's all. All right, so now let's go ahead and see. Okay, so far good. It's a bit of long because we need 5 seconds to wait to finish these things. Now this animation started. Now that part started here. Of course you can move this one actually in different places, this unfinished. Okay, I think just now we set up this one. All right, so you can also move it to, I guess, over here, somewhere here. Actually we might not need it there. Okay, just let's delete this thing. what we could do, when it goes up it starts typing. I think that would be better animation. So where is the stay? I guess stay is down here, over here. And so what we would do, would start the animation from here, actually trigger it. Okay, now let's see. Okay, all right, magical time is coming. Yes, so I think this is more synchronized right now. Okay, yes, so that's what we wanted to do. The other thing we could do, we can delay this animation because it shows up too early, because a lot of the other animation depends on this one. So you can delay it a bit of more time over here. Say instead of doing this, we can do 5 now. Let's see. Yes. Okay, so you see the green box is showing up later. Okay, yeah, so even we can do it say 10,000 milliseconds. Okay, yeah, so in this way we'll have this illusion that things are happening one after another when they're completed. Okay, so because it takes a bit of time to be done, so once that is done we show the green box. Okay, well, not exactly done yet, so you can play around this value. Okay, yes, okay, like that. Okay, so hopefully you learned something from this tutorial, and if you liked it, don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button. Thank you so much.